Welcome back to the channel. It's Wednesday. We got our email this past Friday or Saturday night. We got approved to be in the Mini Nats 2024, along with two of our fellow club members and one of our contributors to the channel, Joseph. He's getting his Dakota in there for the first time. And the white Toyota that we did, it's got accepted and he will be there. And he also just joined the club. So that ought to be a pretty cool weekend. Very cool weekend, being the 30th. Anyways, no truck show stuff today. We're going to get back on. Yep, just another TT02. But it ought to be pretty cool when we get done with it. So stick around, let's see what we can do with it. Oh, still got some booth coating on my hands. Just went into the shop today. It's actually filming this on Sunday. And we've worked 7 days in a row getting the new shop ready. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. Just sprayed some booth coating in the paint booth today. We didn't get far because, like I said, we were moving and working on the shop at the same time. We didn't get very far on this build, so we're going to jump back into it and try to get it a roller tonight and get the body mounted up. And maybe get it painted. No promises. So stick around. I picked up some new cutters today at Harbor Freight while I was there. Good little, I don't know what they call them. They're not side cutters. Straight cut. So we'll continue on with getting the suspension put together. And yeah, nothing super exciting yet until we get some, let's use the cutters if they twist them off. Oh, look at that. All right, nothing exciting here. We'll put you on time lapse and we'll jump back in when we get something going here. All right, we're going to continue on with the instructions as the steps go. They're wanting to put the motor in now, but we're not going to put a pinion gear on it because I'm not sure what pinion we're going to run yet. So, of course, the instructions are not showing this motor mount, so that's where we're going to be different. So we'll go ahead and mock it up anyways. I'm not going to break this motor in. There is several methods. Everybody's got their own way of doing things on motors, but we're just going to put it in and break it in as we run it. That screw's a little long. Put it in there. These parts fit really good. I don't know how precision, racing stuff is, but all of it seems to fit pretty good. So my these control arms, I believe they adjust the wheelbase depending on your body. And it's got a Tamiya logo on one side. So I'm assuming, of course I didn't do any research, so don't quote me on any of this. I didn't check, but just assuming that this NSX body is probably a little shorter than some of the other cars, wheelbase wise. And it moves your rear arms in and out just ever so slightly, depending on which direction you put your arms. They got shock mounts on both sides, so it's pretty universal how they go together. It's a very novice kit, I would say. And where are we at now? Just wanting to put this big old chunky bumper thing on. You know what? I jumped the gun. Just run 15mm screws, tie the bumper and all the suspension together. Because it's a basic kit, don't get too cocky. You gotta make sure you're putting the right stuff in the right places. Now, we're jumping forward to steering blocks. And the steering, we got upgrade parts. There's another kit out there, I don't know the number of it. They make these little pivot balls. They make them brass, a little more precision, probably lasts a little longer than the plastic ones here, a little less slop maybe. But again, not a precision race car here, so we're not too concerned about it being precise. Not doing a lot of talking tonight, I guess. I'm tired. And actually, it's about halfway through the last NASCAR race, and I need to go back in the house and finish that too. Don't tell me who won the championship yet. If Ryan Blaney wins it, we're going to paint this car the Menards paint scheme, number 12. Might do that anyways, even if you don't win. Good looking car. Alrighty. Front arms, front bumper mounts, rear bumper. Now we're going to build the steering knuckles, and this is going to change things too, because we got aftermarket drive shafts and more CVAs, CVDs. I can't set nothing down without losing something, because my workspace is cluttered. Stickers, hardware, and instructions. Pretty nice machine work on those. Nice flat black anodizing. Now I haven't put them on yet. We'll see how they fit here in just a minute. But so far they look really good. Cool thing about these, they're already pre-assembled. And they do have a clip ring on them. That's one thing I don't like about the Fortec. The factory, you'd think the factory parts would be, you know, the best bet. The factory CVAs or CVDs on a Traxxas Fortec, they have a rubber O-ring, and that O-ring tends to dry rot. And when it breaks, your pin comes out. When your CVD comes apart, they ought to do a little upgrade and put a C-clip or E-clip or whatever that's called, metal, instead of a rubber O-ring that can rot away or break real easy. Got a bearing. Uh-oh, they don't fit real good. All right, I gotta have to show you all that. They got ugly. But we got them in there. These things, the tolerances are super tight. I did clean away some of the anodizing with my X-Acto knife, and I still had to tap them in there with a, used the plastic end of my screwdriver and a rubber mallet just to tap them in. So it wouldn't really beat on the race. I was kind of trying to even out the pressure around the bearing. Shouldn't have to beat one in there like that, but when it's kind of funny because when I put the CVD in there, the bearing pushes right out like that. So it's very tight tolerance. It fits just right. Take your time, clean that area where the bearing goes. If you're going to use the option 1 parts, they're super nice. It's just that really tight tolerances. So take your time. Don't panic and don't beat them in with a hammer and ruin your bearings. I almost did. About lost my patience. But we did not. So now we're running these, like I said, you're running these racing CVDs, CVAs, CV whatevers. You have to run their out drives as well, because I'll show you the difference between the factory ones and the ones you need to use with the optional. There's your options. Look at that compared to the factory one. It's literally like 5 times bigger. I guess they make these things kind of beefy out of plastic so they'll be more durable, being that they're made out of plastic. It is a composite material, it's not just straight plastic, so But they are not compatible with upgraded CVDs, and they just slide in simply as that. Nothing real crazy there. All right, going smoothly now. We're building it as the instructions, except for we're using these machine screws that were provided with the steering knuckles. And since they are machined and they are going in the aluminum, just a drop of red lock, blue, not red. So far, so good. I'd rather them things be tight. Like I said, they were a little bit of a struggle to get the bearings in. I had to clean them a little bit. I'd rather it be too small than too big, because you can always take some away and keep that tight fit. That's the whole point of upgrading them, is to take some of the slop out of this front end. So you got to do a little bit of finagling to make it work. And the only slop in there now is those plastic balls that the kit provides. Anywho, yeah, there's the front end done with our upgraded CVDs and out drives, knuckles. The knuckles almost look factory. You can't even tell that they've been upgraded. The only difference between these and the factory ones, actually, the factory ones are just shiny. And the fact that I can't find them. They're on one of these parts trees. There it is. Well, the front one, actually, the factory ones are got a lot more going on. They got the bump stops for the steering, so that's not there anymore. So you get the full range of steering. That's cool. So yeah, definitely an upgrade. I think the weak point is this fact that it mounts right here, and that's your whole. Everything pivots on that thin sleeve right there, and if that breaks, I imagine if you get hit just right. As beefy as that thing is, and just have that little, depending on that little plastic sleeve for to stay on the car. These being machined aluminum, you definitely got a better chance. Of course, anytime you upgrade something, you just find another weak point, but I'd rather have something to break off versus getting bent. You know, you buy the aluminum A-arms and stuff, and you put all the aluminum stuff together and you wreck it, then it's bent and the car don't ever drive right. So I like to have something sacrificial. The A-arms, or I don't foresee them A-arms getting broke. They're pretty stout. But yeah, anyways, we'll move on to the rear. But first, I'm gonna take a few minutes off. I'm gonna go ahead in the house and watch the end of the race, and then we'll come back and we'll get this thing rolling. All right, we're back at it. It's Monday night. First day in the new shop. It was kind of crazy, but not too bad. Ran into a few little hiccups with some plumbing and a couple just typical new building issues, but all is good. Got the shop full of work. Anyways, back to work on the TT02. Went by Anderson RC tonight, picked up an Eco Power steering servo, high torque, high power servo. It's gonna be overkill for this car, but that's fine. We're gonna try to do everything we can to eliminate the steering issues that these cars are known to have. Yeah, and like I said, Blaney won the championship, so that looks like our paint job is going to be the Menards number 12. We'll do something to mimic that car, but we're going to do it on the Acura. Yeah, it may not be the preferred paint job for a lot of y'all, but we're going to go think outside the box. I like to be creative and do things that aren't necessarily the norm. All right, we're getting into the rear drive shafts, or CVDs. It's kind of a rinse and repeat here. We're just going back in and doing the same thing with the upgraded CVD or CVA and the racing out drives. They simply just fall into place. Again, a little groove. I may really just building this car for fun right now, but maybe in the near future we may do a few more upgrades, like the fluid diff and a spool in the front. But Again, just a couple of guys that got these cars and we're just kind of playing around. We were going to race, but I think we're just going to keep it as just a run with your brine, kind of just fun class. Not really trying to race it. Putting a little bit of the Tamiya grease on this shaft. They recommend some kind of lubricant, and I assume this stuff is safe for plastic since it comes with the kit. Because the suspension rides on this screw pin, and the screw pin, it's got a weird finish. It's kind of dull. It's a little, almost, it ain't really textured feeling, but it's not polished in any way. So, we'll do the recommended looby dooby. Well, why are you not going in? There we go. Just wasn't hitting the marks. These things have proven to be pretty good, even on the beach car. It's run in the sand and the dirt and everything else, and it hasn't worked itself loose. And I beat it up pretty good. That one came out last summer. I need to take that car apart because everything that was steel, because there's no option for this to be stainless. Everything that's steel in that car has gotten a little surface rust on it, and that was fully expected. That's why I built it out of a cheap car. So we'll freshen that one up, and we're also, we got so many projects. I got 2 pan car restorations, 12 scale build. I want to revamp the Beach Bug, a car I've had for almost 20 years. I've been collecting parts. I got a spool for it and a couple new parts. It needs a freshening up. May order a new body. All right, now we've got 4-wheel suspension. We got our Racing CVDs, out drives, option 1 steering. We didn't opt for the aluminum rears. There's no need for it. This car is actually pretty tough, and there's not really that much play in the rear. The front's where the problem is. So next step is building shocks, and that's not my favorite thing to do. I'm okay at it. I just don't. It's not fun. It's just a necessary step. So we can skip all that in the book. We do have to use, no, we don't have to use any of that. So, with that being said, we can crack open the option 1 steering kit. Let's go ahead and get that on there. This is a pretty nice looking kit. Again, full bearings, machined aluminum. Partially assembled, and that's weird. They're unsealed bearings. Check it out. You can see the balls in there. Interesting. We're going to have to go with the option 1 instructions, because it comes with a little chassis brace too that ties some of this together. Well, even as fancy as this thing is, it's still got quite a bit of play in it. But it's definitely more solid than all the plastic stuff. Okay. This actually is sold separately. It don't come with some of the steering kits. It's an option to tie the 2 posts together. So yeah, we're gonna go back and we gotta pop a couple screws out and redo that. Didn't set us back too far. I just didn't pay attention when we were putting it together there, because they don't show it in their little instruction sheet. So it is an optional part. All right, we done a little quick upgrade while we were doing a quick upgrade. I seen on one of the other videos on somebody had posted on how to correct some of the steering issues on the car, and they were showing putting a nut underneath the chassis. Well, actually the chassis has an indentation for a 3mm nut, but the screw that calls for your steering, even on the upgraded steering, is only 16mm long, and it's nowhere near even protruding from the hole big enough to, or long enough to get a nut on it. So we went from the, what they call for a 3x16, and we're going up to a 3x28 with a collar on it. Well, a little, I don't know the technical term for that screw, but we got the smooth part right there our bearings going right on. And with that, we were able to get a 3mm nylock nut underneath. And like I said, the chassis already has an indentation for a 3mm nut, and just a matter of getting it lined up. And we got it in there. This adds a little bit more strength. It ties everything together on this front end. Feels really good. It's still a little bit tight because the tightness is coming from these rod ends here. They're a little bit tight, but everything else is on bearings. You can't cinch this down, that's the thing. If you cinch it down, you'll lock it up. And by being able to run it all the way through the chassis, it actually threads into the plastic and the nut. And so you got a solid link all the way through. Still got some front end play because it's a sloppy molded plastic car, but there's another trick some guys are using and putting a link from here to the front bumper mount, and we may end up doing that later on. But anyways, no more than that cost. That front end, the whole steering kit was only like 16 bucks. And then the screws I just happen to have randomly in my box. So we went from coarse thread with plastic linkages, plastic steering, just riding on screws, to bearings, a little carbon fiber brace, all stainless hardware, and beefed it up. And at least it looks like a race car now. It don't look so cheap. I do in the future would like to get the optional upper control arm. You can adjust the camber because the camber is locked on this car. There's no adjustment whatsoever. But they do make one that's got a joint in the middle that's threaded, so you can get some camber adjustment out of it. And I think they also make one for the rear. Yeah, that'd definitely be a major tuning option if that was the case. But looks like we got a pretty much a car now. And I guess we're gonna have to just suck it up and go back to building shocks. And then we'll hop back on here with shocks. We'll throw the radio gear in it. Figure out what pinion gear I'm gonna run. Yeah, we're getting there. And then once we get that all done, we'll get the body on, and then we'll commence to painting the body. The body's gonna take a little bit. I gotta cut some mask for it, and I gotta figure out how to lay out that paint scheme on a sports car body versus a Ford Mustang, which is a sports car too, but a NASCAR style Mustang is a little more sedan-like versus the real Mustang. So, but we're gonna have us a NASCAR NSX here shortly. All right, we're back at it, getting these shocks sorted out. They come with 1, 2, and 3 hole pistons. I'm gonna go in the middle of the road and just go 2 hole. They do come with a couple extra E-clips, just in case you shoot one across the room. You got 2 extras. The shafts and the ball studs and all are pretty nice. They're kind of a black chrome, and I'm not sure why, but one set has a set screw versus just a regular ball stud, and the front and rear of this car is pretty much identical, so I'm not sure why. Because it doesn't explain it in the, okay, it does explain it. Should have flipped the instructions over. For some reason, you got to put the front ones in with the set screw. For whatever reason, not sure why. Because the front shock tower and rear shock tower are basically identical. But for some reason, you get 6 ball studs, and you get 2 that you have to run a set screw through the shock tower for the front. We're running 30 weight oil, no particular reason. because what I got 30 and 40. We're going to start with 30 and a 2-hole piston. We're most likely, at least at the beginning, we're going to run this car on carpet, so we might end up going with a heavier oil. There you go, there's one shock. Don't need to over torque it because it is just plastic. I got a little bit too much rebound in that one. Might work on that a little bit. All right, I'm back. I got on my second shock, and I realized these caps are not vented, and that's why I believe I had so much rebound. Well, it is why I had so much rebound on that first shock. So we come back. You see that daylight in there now? A little bitty dot. I drilled a little vent hole, and to be honest with you, I don't have my drill with me tonight. I left it at work, so I just took my X-Acto knife. This cap is super soft material, and just wallowed a tiny little hole ever so slightly the vent to take the pressure off of the bladder. And with that, we got this. Not super fast, well, actually no rebound, so we got dampening both directions now. Before it was just shooting the piston right back out. So there's a little quick tip. Poke you a tiny vent hole in there. I mean, ever so slightly, but don't do it when it's together because you don't want to poke a hole in the bladder. That's your seal right there. All right, we got the shocks built. Just piecing the last few together here. They come with Tamiya yellow springs. That's that little yellow mark right there. Not sure what that equivalent to. They're pretty soft. And it comes with a variety of clips for tension, lower ball ends if you wanted to, I guess it's a rally car. And then you got a couple of shims in here if you wanted to adjust your ride height. And again, we're running the 2-hole piston, that one. Let's throw these shocks on and get this thing rolling. I've been talking about that for way too long, and this video is getting a little long, so let's see a roller already. So hang on just a minute. Now these ball studs are pretty stout, and I see why they have the one with the Allen screw in the front. It's because of the offset of the shock. It lays the shock back a little bit versus the rear, so it needed to be closer in, and the only way to make it closer in was to make this 2 pieces, I suppose. So that's my story. It doesn't explain why in the instructions. It just shows you to put the one with the set screw in the front. And now that I see it, it looks like it just needed to be closer to the shock tower. But these things here are pretty stout. Takes a little bit of effort to get them on there, which is good, which means they're not just going to pop off. Finally, we've got almost a roller. Got a little air in that one. I'm going to have to work on that one. Hear that? Yep, we got to fix that. But we'll fix that before we hit the track. Tonight we're going to make this thing roll. So hang on just a minute and we'll be right back. I'll tell you what, these little Harbor Freight flush cutters, what they're called, I figured that out. They come in quite handy on a car like this. I imagine on a model car, because it's basically like, this is a model car. You just get to drive it when you're done. Now, if we were going for scale points, we would probably go in and really sand that flashing off and then drop it in the floor. And you maybe go back and paint the wheel and drop it again. Go back and paint the rotor silver so it would look more scale. Because you can, I guess you can somewhat see it through the wheel, but you don't have any brake calipers. You just got rotors. And once again, I'm not going to run the stock wheels to begin with. I may save them for a future project because they are a pretty cool looking wheel. It's a BBS wheel. But we're going with the same old aero discs that were on the Hyundai Dart. It's going to work with the look I'm going for on this one too. Yeah, it's the same old tire. These tires aren't glued. Unlike the Hyundai Dart, these actually have white letters on them. Again, El Cheapos are like 16 bucks a set. No faster than this car's going. They work great on the carpet, and I imagine they'll do okay in a parking lot. And hopefully, look at there. I was a little bit worried that they wouldn't have the letters on the right way, and they have, because they're directional treads, but actually the letters and the treads match. Because they're only lettered on one side, which is pretty cool. So there's a left and right. Who would have thunk? Anyways, pop these on, and we got a roller. All right, without further ado, ta-da, we got a roller. Still missing a few little parts, like the battery hold down, the motor cover. We're not putting the motor or the spur gear cover on until we put a pinion gear on. Still got to put the bumpers on, the bumper mounts, but we got a roller. I'm going to throw the servo in. I'm not going to bore y'all with any of that. We're going to throw the electronics in it, throw the bumpers on it, and you'll have to come back for the next episode. We will be doing the body, and we are going to do the Menards 12. Ryan Blaney, I was going to say Dave Blaney, but the Ryan Blaney body, because we were predicting he was going to win the championship while we were building this, and if he did, we were going to paint our car that way, so that's what we're going to do. So next episode, we will do the body, we'll mount it, and get it painted. It's not a super complex paint scheme, but I do have to cut some logos, and that takes a minute because my computer is a piece of junk. And yeah, and we'll probably, I'm not going to promise it, but we may run it in that video because I need to get this thing together so we can take it to the track hopefully next week. And we are planning on racing the 17th, and there will be a video shortly after that. So stay tuned and subscribe if you haven't. And appreciate everybody watching. Appreciate everybody that has become a member. If you are a member, you are eligible to win the Hunadart. The giveaway is coming soon, mid-December sometime. No set date exactly yet. But anyways, appreciate everybody, and we'll see you next time.